Budget negotiations in Washington barely budging. Meet the professional negotiator who says we might as well have Homer Simpson handle this mess.
Listen, Taboli, we're ignoring all of your demands. What do you say to that?
All right, well, the president meeting with Senate Republicans today, the vice president powwowing with both sides. The big guys working to cut a deal that will cut spending. My guests say that all sides are botching it because no one in the room seems to know how to negotiate, and this guest should know. Chris Voss is a former FBI hostage negotiator and says if he negotiated like these guys, those hostages wouldn't have stood a chance. There are going to be all these people, Chris, who are going to say, oh, why an FBI hostage negotiator? Actually, Chris, because you make more sense. All right, so what are they doing wrong, Chris?
Well, they seem to be trying to negotiate primarily when you negotiate through the media. We have a saying, the most dangerous negotiation is the one you don't know you're in. So if you're making statements through the media, you're not understanding exactly how they're going to reverberate. And then they get to begin to act very much like people who are standing up on tops of buildings and threatening to jump off. Nobody believes them because they're going to hurt themselves, but they actually mean it. But
don't they always send out little messages that they want picked up? The president kind of indicating, I don't want to attach any sort of restrictions to this deal. And the Republicans saying, well, we don't want any of this part of it, like tax hikes. They aren't making clear their views, or what do they risk doing that?
Well, they're really hoping the other side listens to them and presents them with a solution. When they throw things out like that, sometimes a demand is a counteroffer in disguise. So they'll be making demands like that so they can save face by not making it look like they're making counteroffers and not making it look like they're actually negotiating. But that's what they're doing.
You know, the FBI and government agencies always say we don't negotiate with terrorists, but in reality we do, right? I mean, behind the scenes we try to find a middle ground. What do you think should be being done right now behind the scenes on both sides' part?
Well, communication is not always equal to concession, so they should be talking. They should be finding out, you know, the middle ground may be a better ground than a lot of people realize. There may be a lot more room there than they expect, as long as they keep talking to each other. They do a number of other things which we do in the hostage negotiation world a lot. They use third parties. We call them third-party intermediaries. So it's another way to make an offer and save face at the same time, which in many cases is what's most important throughout the entire negotiation.
I'm just wondering, mixing metaphors here, if they can all just call a friend, you know, like a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire thing. But more to the point, whether what's working against this is the fear, actually, that they might have more time, that, as you probably heard, Chris, this debt limit might not be reached out till significantly later than we thought, because the government's taking in more money than we thought. So I always wonder, and maybe you could help me here, whether deadlines that aren't imminent are deadlines that are kind of ignored.
Well, that's exactly it. And they try not to pay much attention to the deadline until they get much closer. And then at the last minute, the idea is to find a way to talk through the deadline so that everybody can pretend like it didn't exist. The problem with this is if there's a deadline on a law where something kicks in on a specific date, then the deadline is a little bit more real. And ideally, they address the issue sooner so that they don't fold their position at the last minute.
Well put, well put. Chris, thank you very much, Chris Voss.
My pleasure.
And by the way, as hostage negotiations go, just so everyone knows, we are the hostages. That's the describer there.